What would you do for fame and fortune? I mean, for people to recognize your face, music, movies, for people to look at you and think they know who you are? Is anything off limits? For a man in Africa, no. Apparently not. Y'all ever hear the man who dug up his newly deceased mother's body and had intercourse with it for fame and fortune? Are y'all ready for y'all daily dose of the internet? Because you're going to want to log off. You're going to want to clock out after this. Forget the popcorn. Get your liquor. Welcome back, YouTube. And for those who are new and just now seeing me, hello, it's me you're looking for. And my name is Noah, and I'm a spiritualist. And on this platform, I talk about death, true crime, spiritual reparations, haunted people, places, and things, and how you can fuck around and find out. If you are not subscribed to my channel, I highly recommend it. If you are not following me on TikTok, and if TikTok is your thing, go ahead and follow me over there too. This will not be a long video. I'm gonna go ahead and put the disclaimer because, baby, what is there really to talk about? You seen the thumbnail. You heard the intro. It's about to get real. And I have to give a disclaimer and trigger warnings. If you are sensitive to sexual assault and necrophilia, I highly recommend that you skip this video because in my eyes, necrophilia is a form of sexual assault. The deceased cannot give consent. So we are wishing you love, light, and healing if you've experienced that and you are not wanting to even go down that rabbit hole. But I highly recommend, again, that you skip this video because we're going to go down that rabbit hole. Disclaimer, or shout out, I should say, to AfriMax. I did get this story from them. I will be tagging them below and I will be using some of their images. They're a beautiful channel that gives lots of knowledge from Africa and translates it into English. I highly recommend that y'all follow them as well. Now that we got the recommendations, disclaimers, trigger warnings out the way, let's get into this crazy ass story about a man that was tricked by a witch. This is why I be telling y'all, do not dabble in shit that you're not ready to dabble in. Because a lot of people on this platform call me a witch. Not knowing that whenever you are a spiritualist, the term witch is like an insult. Because baby, you ain't even seen what a witch is. Witchcraft and spirituality are two different things. Please don't confuse them. You don't know what a witch can do. A witch will have your thoughts in a pretzel. A witch will control everything that happens in your life. Don't give me that much. Don't give me that much juice. But anywho, this story happens in Africa, and the exact spot in Africa is not disclosed. But it involves a 28-year-old man named Ramadan. And he is in what I assume an underprivileged area of Africa. Both his parents are deceased, mother and father, obviously mom, and he wants to be famous. He always wanted to do something with his life, but being underprivileged makes that very, very hard. He only finished the 7th grade, and though he wanted to continue his education, finances just did not allow that. So he only has a 7th grade education. He probably is listening to music, watching television, and seeing all of these successful Africans make it. And it is said for good reason that he wanted this. He was very talented, a very talented man, adolescent, child. He was always very, very honed in on becoming famous because he knew he had that it factor. Now let's just pause for a second. Because a lot of people in the music industry, in the spiritual realm, they are willing to go as far as sacrifice, human sacrifice, to get what they want. Okay, this is since the beginning of music, and everybody always hears about it, about how artists sold their soul to become even more famous than they were, how they have to upkeep different rituals and things to continue their success. So, whenever he's looking at these successful actresses, actors, songstress, singers, rappers, he's thinking that he probably needs to do whatever it takes to become famous. And a lot of the times, you have to be invited into this club. You have to know someone to get in, or know someone who has the right connections to get you in front of the right people. And this is exactly what happened to Ramadan. Ramadan has seen a man around his community that looked very well off. Like he had money, like he didn't worry about a goddamn thing. So he asked a few people to put him in touch with this man. And this man was more than eager to help. Now, I wish the world was as kind as this man pretended to be, but we have to be fucking for real. This man was an opportunist and more than likely a slave himself, if that makes sense. It will make sense in a couple of seconds. Because unfortunately, people that are in higher ranking positions in life, some people, not all, do not twist my words, some people are not willing to be that open with how they became successful, helping people below them. Unfortunately, we live in a world that is selfish and self-serving. But this man, to Ramadan at the time, did not come off like that. Now, this whole time, his family, friends, they're like, dude, you got it. You can do this on your own. You can become rich, famous. You're so talented. Speaking life into this man. But he chose to go to someone who looked successful, but probably was not. So members of his community believed in him so much that they told this rich, wealthy man, like, hey, this guy's really talented. You should speak with him. And they connected him. Like I said, he met the wealthy man. The wealthy man was like, yeah, I can help you, but there's going to be a cost. He never disclosed what the cost would be. So, of course, Ramadan, being curious, was like, well, what do I have to do? What is it that I need to do to become famous? And the wealthy man is just like, it's easy, but you're going to have to be brave. You're going to have the cojones to do this. And this kind of frightened Ramadan. And Ramadan had some apprehension, them as them ancestor spirit guides. But he was so desperate to get out of his situation. And he wanted to become famous. Pause so I could just elaborate for a quick second. Whenever you feel a little bit of hesitation in any situation, that is God telling you, and that's the ancestors being God's backup. Like, we don't like it. Use discernment always, because if he would have used discernment, child. So the wealthy man pulls Ramadan's card right then and there, like, come on, we're going to go now. So he takes him all the way out into the countryside to a little hut and points at it and said, that's where I got rich. Right there, that little house. And Ramadan was a little confused, but he trusted the wealthy man. So they enter the hut. And in this hut sat an old woman. And she's like, I know why you're here. I already know. What's up, Ramadan? He was a little scared and sketchy because how do you know my name? I just met this man today. But she knew who he was before he even uttered a word. Not only did she know his name, she knew why he was there. And was like, I already know what you need. And I can give that to you. But you need to sleep with your mother. And Ramadan's low-key confused. Like, my mom died 2 weeks ago. And the witch is like, I know. She said, I know your mom's dead, but you need to go dig up her body and have intercourse with it. Sorry, y'all. I was trying to get my words right because I ain't trying to get demonetized over this video. This frightened Ramadan. So he leaves the witch's house. And when he goes outside, he sees that the man, the wealthy man that brought him here, is nowhere to be found. So he just starts running. He eventually runs into someone on a motorcycle and was like, hey, can you take me where there's more people? And eventually, after a short distance of them riding together, the man wanted money and Ramadan didn't have any. So then the man started trying to attack Ramadan. And he's like, listen, I ain't got the energy for this. I ain't ate today. I've been running. I'll just bow out. So he gets off the motorcycle and continues to run, only to find himself right back in front of the witch's house after running clearly away from it. It was almost like a loop, like a game that this old woman, who he describes as a witch and who I know is a witch, is playing on him. Because if you're running away from somewhere and you have traveled some distance via motorcycle or motorbike, whatever they were riding on, how the hell did you end up back in front of this lady's house? The math ain't mathin'. Well, then he started running again. And again, he ended up in front of the witch's house. And every time he would get back in front of this witch's house, his thoughts changed. They leaned more towards doing what she said than continue to run. So after running for miles and getting nowhere, ending up in the same spot, his thoughts transformed into, if I want this, I need to do anything. And he even said himself he doesn't know what powers were over him at that point. He doesn't know if the witch was playing in his head, because there's no way that he should have ended up back at this woman's house. So he walks into the house and says, I'll do it. I'll dig my mother's dead body up and have with it. And almost as if she knew he'd be back, she told him, you made a good choice. Now take this horn with these 7 needles inside, because that'll be important later, so she claims. And then get 7 guys and go to the cemetery at 2 a.m., dig your mom up, do the do, and you'll be famous twice over. So Ramadan did just that. He followed instructions to the T. And he said he was shocked at how unfazed his friends were when he told them what he was going to do. His friends acted as if it was normal that he wanted to go to the cemetery at 2 a.m. with a horn, 7 needles inside of it, dig up his dead mother, and have with her. Once they finally got to Ramadan's mom's actual body, he said it almost was too fresh. Remember, this woman has been in the ground for 2 weeks. It shouldn't have been that fresh, especially if they weren't using embalming fluid or anything to preserve her body. But he said it was eerily fresh to have been in the ground for 2 weeks. So he begins to do what the witch tells him to do. And while he's doing this heinous act of necrophilia, his friends are just watching like it's nothing. Like they're in a grocery store and he's picking out his favorite cereal. This scared Ramadan more than them being outraged, because it was almost weird how like passive his friends were in helping dig up the body and watching him do this to his mother's dead body. All of it was just fucking unhinged. It really was. After he finished the act, they reburied his mother's body. And like I said, he was just like, why do y'all not think that I'm weird? Because this is weird for me. He said he didn't even feel like it was him. And he felt like the witch was even controlling his friends, because they started to ask, could he introduce them to the witch so that they can become rich as well? But as soon as Ramadan's pants were back around his ass, he was full of regret. Full of regret and despair over what he did. So he goes back to the witch's house and he sees a young girl, a teenage girl there. And he didn't even ask how the girl knew the witch or whatever the case is, but She's like, the lady you're looking for is not here. And he didn't ask no more questions. He just got lost. So he went back to his village and realized that he had been tricked. That everything that the witch said was a lie. Let's pause. Let's pause right there. And this is why I say I'm not a witch. There are white witches, good witches. And then there are other witches who get people like the wealthy man to recruit other people so that they can feel the same despair that they probably feel. I'm going to reiterate, stop letting people do spells for you, okay? Not all witches are bad, but the ones that do things like this, you don't even know that they're into that kind of stuff. Stop letting these people fucking play in y'all faces. Please. Because though every witch is not like this, there are some red flags that will show you that they're not a white witch. They're not full of light, full of good energy. Some of these witches are literally vampires. Vampires. Some of them are lugaos. Some of them are hags. Okay, I done went through a couple different lines of spirituality with that one, but it's all one and the same. Some of these witches are out to just be energy siphoners and never plan to give you what they promise. That's why I be telling my clients, don't let people do love spells for you. Don't let people do different workings for you because they're going to keep you coming back, or they're not going to do what they said they were going to do. Their intentions are not good. Y'all be safe out in these streets. So once he went back to his village, he never felt peace. He was in despair over what he did. He had recollection, or like he realized, I fucked up and this was never ever supposed to be. This was a bad omen. And so he left his village. He left to try to get some sort of peace. He was having anxiety, depression, nightmares, and he was the youngest out of the children. But he lived with his sister, and all this time, his sister knew nothing about what he had done. So he left and went to a city called Dar es Salaam, and it didn't get any better. This story just is depleting. He traveled by truck. The journey was rough, and he was homeless out there in Dar es Salaam. So it wasn't like he was going into this big life that this witch promised him. He had been duped, and he was realizing that. He thought moving to the city was going to be a cakewalk, and it actually was even worse than being in the village. He got there, he started working hard, but like I said, he was homeless. And he happened to see one day while working a woman who was being stalked by two men, and he decided to help. He later figured out that these two men wanted to rob this woman, so he helped her, and she was super thankful and invited him to her house. Lo and behold, this woman that he saved is wealthy. Like she's papered up. She got money. So he's like, okay, I'll come to your house. I'm homeless. I'm just letting you know that right now. She's like, that doesn't matter. I want to help you. Help me. Let me go ahead and return the favor. So the woman took him in, and everything seemed to be okay. Ramadan felt like he had a brighter outlook on life. He felt like things were going to be okay. This woman cooked for him, fed him, clothed him, housed him with nothing, not wanting anything in return. But that witch was on his cranium. He began to become anxious and paranoid that the woman who was helping him was the witch in disguise. Let's just, 1 second, pause. Is anyone else thinking that this may have been his way to get into wealth, like the witch promised? Because I'm thinking like, okay, well, maybe this was what she was talking about. But then again, the fact that he kept thinking about that witch and thinking that this woman was that witch makes me think otherwise. I don't trust her as far as I can throw her, and I ain't got no muscles. So he tells the woman the truth. Like, this is what happened. This is what I'm going through. Because at this point, Ramadan was having nightmares and he was seeing full body apparitions of his mother. So, bro was going through it. He was stressed the fuck out. So he confided in this woman and she understood. The woman did not judge him. And he showed her the needles. Because the needles, I forgot to mention, were wrapped up in a cloth. And they were inside that horn. And the woman said to him, those needles in that cloth will help you. And he was just like, nah, bruh. Because who sent you? He was way too paranoid, so he left. He went back to his village. Ramadan went home and he started to begin realizing that the consequences of his actions were far more heavier than any poverty or want, longing that he had before he met the witch. So he made the decision to tell his sister what had happened. Because at this point, Ramadan was suicidal, he was having dark thoughts, and he did not want to be here at this point, and he needed help. And of course, his sister was heartbroken by what he had done. She cried a lot. It was very, very disturbing and heartbreaking for her, as it should have been. Because if that was my brother, I would have reported him. Witch or no witch, you knew better. She started advising him to pray more often to try to get this witch off of his back. And so he started to do that and started to find some kind of solace in prayer and just keeping grounded in his faith. Sorry, y'all. Ramadan claims now he has peace and solace. He no longer feels judgment. Things are much better, and that prayer works because he prayed this witch off of his back along with any spiritual grime that she left. Let's pause again. I don't believe that. I don't. During this interview that I watched of this man, he cried nearly the entire interview. If you have no judgment, no sadness, or no feelings behind what you did, then you wouldn't be crying. You wouldn't feel any type of sadness behind it. That shadow would have already integrated with your light self. Do I feel like he felt bad for what he did? Yes. But only because it was his mother. Do I feel like he would do something to get fame and play in the spiritual realm again? Absolutely. Absolutely. Do I believe this old woman / witch knew that he was underprivileged, undereducated, and desperate? Absolutely. Yep. Because that's what dark spiritualists, I'm not even going to give them that title, dark witches do. They prey on people that they deem weak. And whenever you are so worried about the materialistic things of life that you can't really see the big picture, that is considered weak to somebody like this person who did this. But who am I to judge or say anything? I'm just a spiritualist that tells stories. What do y'all think? In all actuality, please don't get on here talking about read your Bible and blah, blah. I don't care, baby. I don't care. I want to know your true opinion. I don't need Bible verses or scriptures because this is a real interview with a man that says he has his mom's dead body. So I need y'all to tell me, do you think it was the witch? Do you think it was mental illness? Do you think he was tricked? What is it that y'all really feel about this video? This is your friendly reminder to stay the fuck out the spiritual realm. Stop playing with dark magic. Stop wanting things, men, people, places, situations so desperately that you'll do anything. Stop. It's musty. You're gonna fuck around and find out. I know half y'all ain't even listen to me, but y'all do good, be good. I'm logging out. Bye.